This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
Music's playing with So, back in the old days when this show was Sports Monday, which it was from around 1995 till, I don't know, let's call it, who knows?
Which it still
how many
should
years?
be, for the
15,
record.
16 years of that, and now this is year 23, it's Sports 225. So every Monday, back in the day, Sports Monday used to be a live show, and it was on a number of stations until it finally matriculated up the field to what was then Cox 4, and it was that was it. Every Monday of
Selection
the
Sunday.
basketball season, will you stop it and let me
I
host
can't
the
help
show?
it. I'm sorry.
Golly. So we would do Selection Monday and have a round table and go over the brackets. And anyway, we got away from that because for a couple of reasons. Number one is Sports Monday became Sports 225 because I didn't want to do the show on Mondays anymore. We had to change the name, and we weren't live. And by then the tournament would be going. But so this week, former college basketball coach, local basketball guy, and restaurant aficionado Brock Kantrow calls me and says, we got to put the band back together again for a Selection Monday, if you will, even though it's not Monday. And so he and Henry Hayes, who used to come on during that time, are both here. And here you are. It's the week of the NCAA basketball tournament, and Henry's already got his Final Four.
Right.
Brock's out of basketball, but still loves it. All right, I'll start with you.
Next year, we're going to do Selection Wednesday or Thursday. Maybe we'll just do it at the end of the tournament. We'll all be right because nobody will see the show until it's over.
All right, let's start with LSU playing the artist formerly known as USL.
Yes.
That's an intriguing matchup. Now, you used to be at Tulane
Yep.
with Perry Clark. It's got to bother you that the colleges in Louisiana don't all play each other.
It is. I mean, but I see both sides of the picture. I mean, it's almost a win-win for the smaller schools, and if you lose to a smaller school as an LSU, you're just done. I mean, it's a tough deal.
But Henry, you saw where Bob Marlin, the UL coach, and of course they made sure that the Sun Belt refers to them as Louisiana. You know, I find it hard to not call them ULL just because I'm so used to USL in the old days. I'll call them whatever they want. They can be the Raging Cajuns. But, you know, you said, hey, our RPI is considerably better than LSU's. Our record is better, everything else, and yet they have to drive over to LSU to play.
Yeah. Coach Marlin wasn't too pleased, and he made it known. And, you know, I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have a little spice in that rivalry. Bob Marlin's a good coach. He's won everywhere he's gone. In fact, I would be a little concerned if I'm ULL to keep him. With all the jobs that are going to come open, he's going to get another.
He's been there a lot longer than I thought he would be, actually. Yeah.
But look, the one thing Coach Marlin didn't mention was that ULL has 0 top 50 wins. Right. And that is a big part of the equation, and LSU has 7. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to slice and dice it. I was waiting for him to say, get off my lawn, because it's a little grumpy old man.
Right.
But, hey, at a minimum, it should be a great atmosphere in the PMAC because there's a little edge to it, for sure.
And it's about money. I mean, but let's not kid each other. I mean, the NIT wants to make some money.
They expect LSU will draw more fans than UL would have at home. Yeah. That's what they, you know,
you can throw all the RPIs out the window
Right.
when cash is involved.
Well, you know, the first time, and did either of you watch the Pete Maravich special that was on the other night?
No,
I did not.
I hadn't seen it.
I saw
You
it.
did?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first time I ever went to an NIT was Madison Square Garden in 1970 when LSU played. It was Pete's last year. And I grew up in Stony Brook, New York. We had heard about this kid, but we never saw him on TV. You'd just seen little video clips, and then you'd heard all about the floppy socks and all the points he scored, but you knew nothing of him.
You couldn't watch it on your iPad?
Right.
No, my iPad was broken that week. And, you know, we didn't get the SEC on TV up in the Northeast. So we used to watch at Delphi and Hofstra and UConn
Iona.
back in the old days. Yeah, exactly. And then you'd have to turn the antenna. Oh, the top to my pen just keeps flying around here. So anyway, so that was the first time I went to an NIT. And by the way, LSU beat Georgetown in the game that I saw. Maravich had one of the worst games of his college career, 20 points, 16 assists.
Right. It's
Can you
insane.
imagine?
I know. I keep thinking about the three-point line too. If it was there, how many points?
Well,
he
yeah,
would score.
it's the two. If you want to win a bar bet, it's the two records in sports that will simply never be broken: his total number of points in college and his per game average. Because if a guy averages 26 a game his freshman year, is gone. 26,
Right.
which is 15. No, it's 17 off of his average of 43,
Right.
and there's no 3-point line back then, and no shot clock.
Yeah.
So there's no way a guy would ever be half that.
It's immeasurable. That's right.
Right.
Let me tell this quick story, and I've told it before, but it's kind of like you do with Get Off My Lawn. So we're in the garden. We get there early. We wanted to see everything, and we're there before either team even gets out on the floor. Maravich walks out, and there's a couple hundred people in Madison Square Garden at the time, a smattering of applause, and he walks to the top of the key. He has a ball boy take a rack of balls down to the far right corner. Kid throws him a bounce pass. Maravich catches it on the bounce, throws up a hook from the top of the key, swish. There's been no warm-up. Throws him another one, swish. Throws him another one, swish. Hits like 15 or 16 in a row. I remember just sitting there going, and then went about his business. And it was fascinating to see him play because he was really good. At the time, I never paid attention to his defense,
Right.
and I know that was not his strong point. But he was a big guy and probably could have been a better defender if he wanted to be. But
He didn't need to be.
Yeah.
no, well, I mean, it's one of those deals. Henry Hayes is here. Brock Kantrow is here. We'll catch up on what both of them are doing when we get back. And then eventually we'll talk about that NCAA tournament, pick some Final Fours. It's Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the guy who enforces rules at Breck Parks. Check out my amazing presentation. Did you know? Motorized vehicles are not allowed in Breck Parks. Sales and solicitation are prohibited without permission from Breck. And my favorite rule, keep Breck Parks clean by placing all trash in trash cans. Come on, you can do this. For more information about these and other Breck rules, please visit breck.org/HDB.
Back on Sports 225, hanging out with Henry Hayes and Brock Kantrow. We put the band back together for a Selection Monday, only you'll first see it on a Thursday. Henry, what are you up to these days? What's new in the drug business?
By the way, Yoko broke the band up, just for the record. Yeah. Oh, just traveling a whole bunch, trying to keep up with. I'm a basketball dad now. For the time being, retired my whistle and enjoying watching my son over at Dunham, state champions as of last Saturday, which was fun to watch. So doing that, have one leaving college, headed to LSU. So a lot going on.
Wait, that kid's old enough to go to college already?
She is a senior and going to LSU. So, yep.
Now, I've known Henry since before he was married. So, when you go back. No, I think this is correct.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before she was around, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. My gosh. College. Yeah, so it's really fun to have your kid be part of a state championship basketball
It was
team.
a great ride. It's funny. I haven't coached in high school. I've coached as an assistant in California in a high school championship game. And I've coached in a bunch of games that aren't that big. But coaching in them and being a parent, it's two very different things. And the parent piece is much, much more stressful. And Dunham won that game by 1. Episcopal was ready to play. But it was quite a ride. They had a great year. I mean, they beat Peabody. They beat Washington Marion. So we scheduled up for a reason, and it's a really good team. So it was a fun ride.
Very good high school basketball season for Baton Rouge area teams.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Jehovah Jireh, Madison Prep, Episcopal was in the finals. Of course, Catholic played. U High. Walker's going to be really good. They're good already. So yeah, I think it's all dependent on cycles of players, but it was a great year this year.
Do you still follow it? High school basketball?
Yeah. I love this year. It was fun to watch this year. Really fun to watch. I mean, the Dunham Episcopal games where I went with the two of them, they were just insane.
Now, Brock was, among other things, an assistant coach at Tulane and Miami, and then was the head coach of a D3 in Maryland.
That's correct.
And you came back here. You were in basketball for a while, the team Sportsplex, which you helped launch. But you're pretty much out of hoops these days and just in the family restaurant business.
Yeah,
huh?
it is. It's so nice to be out of hoops. and just coach from the sidelines like everybody else, right? It's amazing. It's much more. I get a lot less trouble from my couch than I did when I was on the sidelines. And I miss it about this time of the year is when I miss the most.
Really?
But then about the other 355 days, I don't really care about it that much. It's nice.
Yeah, traveling for recruiting probably was the worst.
Yeah, and this whole thing with the FBI and all this, there's a lot of that business is kind of.
Well, we want to talk about that because
Yeah.
Henry's got some thoughts about it too. But
Yep.
all right, so this would be your time though for the shameless plug for the
Shameless
family
plug,
business.
yeah. Flambe Cafe. I mean, I walk in here to talk about it with you, and you don't even know what it is. So
tell the
that's
people,
that's why I'm here today for sure. Open, but I do have your free flambe. So I mean, you can't come on Lee's show unless you bring some free stuff.
No, but there's Bistro Byron's too, right?
Yes, but you're still sitting on like 15 free bistro coupons from the past 20 years.
You never have enough. So tell us about Flambe.
Yeah, we opened it. It's a new concept. It's a French spin on pizza, and it's right across the parking lot from our Perkins Road location of Bistro. We spent about a year and a half kind of researching a new kind of pizza, but not pizza. It's a really thin crust, savory crust with lots of fresh toppings on top. It's not like a Godfather's deep dish where you eat one, you feel like you got to,
There's
go
a
take
bunch of
nap.
people out there going, Godfathers? What?
I know, right? I just paid it myself, didn't I? Holy camole.
All right, that's it. That's all the plugs you get. You only brought me one certificate.
You got two.
know?
You got two, dude.
Okay, well, I got to
to
share one with Henry, and the thing with the Department of Justice and the FBI and the college basketball thing came out, I said it was tip of the iceberg. And that didn't make me Nostradamus. And there's still got to be a lot of people shaking in their boots. But you said that you had some thoughts about it.
Okay, so I'll go you one for it's the tip of the tip. And here's what I mean.
Okay.
So for the longest time, you have to have had your head buried in the sand and or didn't want to know. Of course, college basketball's been dirty. You've covered it for 40 years. Of course it is. Okay. So I've always looked for what's the next iteration? What can happen? And here's what I think it's the perfect storm. So you have a couple of big questions. One is, should these guys be able to make money in college? And that's a fair and arguable, debatable question. The whole version of amateurism. We see what's happened in the Olympics, that's gone away. But number two, we live in a time when 2018, technology is such that I think that college basketball is about to be or could be disrupted and really flipped on its head because of this. Follow me for a second.
All right.
All right, so we live in an age when content is king. So Google, Amazon, Facebook, all those guys are now in the distribution business of content, right? It's not just CBS, ABC, Fox anymore. And everyone's looking to capture attention. So if I'm DeAndre Ayton last year, who's the best player in college, and it's not close, and he has a marketable skill in a free market economy, let's say that Google or Amazon said, you know what? We need more content. We need more eyeballs. We're going to start our own small league in Kansas City, Missouri, middle of the country, or Chicago. We're going to offer to pay them $100,000. We're going to feed them. We're going to give them classes like how to handle your finance, how to become a social media presence, representation, things that they would really need.
I see where you're going with this. I like this.
Right. And hold on a second. So not only would you let's say you get the top 20 players in the country, my kids would watch because there's a kid named Mac McClung who's going to Georgetown next year. Lee has 2 million YouTube followers because of the way he dunks. So don't tell me that Mac McClung is not already a marketable, monetizable presence. But he can't do it because of the NCAA restrictions, which are ridiculous.
So he can't monetize his
no,
YouTube? Right.
No,
Okay.
at all.
Right.
So Mac goes to this new league. My 15 and 12-year-old will be front row on their iPhones or on their iPads or on the PS4 or on a device that we haven't seen today that could be here this summer. So think about your ability to produce and your ability to produce this awesome roundtable. Tell me, how cool would this be? Not only do you watch the games, but you watch, and if the content was great, what about like how they select their shoe deal or how they select their fast food restaurant deal? I think that's really interesting. And oh, by the way, again, I think it's a free market. They'd be entitled to it. If my 14-year-old could code better than anybody, the free market wouldn't hold him back. The guys in Palo Alto would be knocking at my door saying, we've got offers for little Nathan. But that's not the reality in basketball. So I do think that one of the tech giants who have, by the way, billions to spend in a time where we need content, why couldn't they swoop in and say, we're going to get the best coaches, the best training table? Oh, and by the way, we'll pay you, and it'll all be above board.
Well,
Why couldn't that happen?
So in essence, all right, we're way over, so we got to take this break. But in essence, putting the D League
into somebody else's hands.
into third place,
Yeah.
and taking the NCAA away as a minor league system for the top tier players.
Gone.
Well, I think that makes the college game better. I mean, to me, like, I want to watch college guys who've been there for 2 and 3 years. I mean,
Bingo.
I think
Right.
and then coaches coach and players play, and it becomes what it used to be.
All right, hold that thought. We're way over. He's Brock Kantrow. He's Henry Hayes. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the rules guy for Breck Parks. Sometimes the rules slip past us, so I put together this amazing presentation. Did you know? Golf practice is only allowed at designated golf facilities. Firearms, explosives, and weapons are not allowed on Breck property. Metal detecting is allowed in some parks, but go to Breck's website to learn more about this and other park rules. For more information, visit breck.org/HDB.
Yeah. We're back on Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag hanging out with Brock Kantrow and Henry Hayes. We talked the last segment about Henry's revolutionary idea for what should be done with young basketball prodigies coming out of high school. So you better go to sports225.com and see when the replays are.
Right.
You did put this band together to talk about the NCAA tournament.
I think that's what we're supposed to do, right?
So remember the good old days when we had maybe as many as 3 or 4 Louisiana teams?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are none again. It's just been an absolutely horrible Louisiana cycle. And we're talking about men's basketball, of course.
But it cycles back through. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're on the upswing in the next couple of years.
Well, that and perhaps, and to wit, the previously mentioned LSU Louisiana NIT game maybe is a portent of good things to come in both programs where they both get back to the tournament. But Tulane, we hardly knew ye. Where's everybody else?
Tech.
Nichols.
Nichols.
It's at a time in the 80s there were 13 Division I schools. Centenary since is not. UNO wasn't, then back is. But those glory days seem like a long, long time ago. And where I was going to the next step is the SEC. So I heard people say down the stretch that the SEC was the best conference. And those people feel vindicated or validated because the SEC got the most teams in, 8. I'm telling you, I'll be shocked if more than 2 teams from the SEC make it to the round of 16. I think the league was awful watching it this year.
It's not awful.
Awful.
Come on.
I think don't get me started because I think
the Big 12
college.
SEC Challenge, we came out pretty decent.
I think college basketball is awful right now. It's almost
Tell me how you
unwatchable
really
because
feel, Lee.
you just turn it on and all you see all game long is 3 guys standing outside the arc, or 2 of them and one of them running and 2 more.
Herein lies where Henry's information may help us out. I think in the future, I think basketball becomes a better game when the players that we're talking about are somewhere else playing. I think it has to be.
But anyway, so back to the SEC, because you were saying before you thought, before we started the show, that you thought I was wrong.
Well, I just think, look, it's fair to say that the league has been way down in the last 5 to 7 years, and that's fair. But look what the league has done, and I think it all starts with the guys in charge, the coaching. Will Wade, for the record, I don't think LSU could have done any better.
Big upgrade across the league.
Gigantic.
Yep.
I mean, Rick Barnes is at Tennessee and starting to get that going. Bruce Pearl, Quanzo Martin, Frank Martin at South Carolina, White at Florida. So you're really starting.
Avery Johnson,
Billy Kennedy at A&M. Yeah, although I don't think he's there for long.
Right.
No.
So I think that's a big step forward. And so I think they're going to continue to get better. But I think the league was respectable this year.
I think they were actually good. I watched the ACC, and I didn't think the ACC was,
Carolina's down.
Yeah, man.
Duke's really
Duke
good.
got beat
UVA is
numerous
really
times.
good.
So this is one of the tournaments where I think there's really a lot of parity in the tournament. If UVA is your number 1 seed overall, I think that shows that's a whole lot of parity. They're really not a whole lot of fun to watch. They guard very well, but they're not a runaway favorite like some of the teams in the past. What I do like about this tournament is there are a lot of mid-major teams that are senior laden that I think can make a run because there's no superstar teams like the old Kentuckys and the old North Carolinas are just so much better. You can't play with them. The Creightons, the TCUs. I mean, they're playing with 4 seniors and they've beaten teams all throughout the year. It's kind of fun to watch.
they know, but about 15 years ago, I did a book called Hoop Daddy about father-sons in basketball, and one of the chapters was on the Bennetts. Dick Bennett was at the time the coach at Washington State, had been at Wisconsin, and his son Tony was his assistant, who eventually got the job at Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I was Hoop Daddy proud to see Virginia be the top seed.
Well, and Bennett, they defend. I mean, Brock's right. You know, it's funny. They don't really score, and they want to slow you down. But the flip side is no one that they play, including Arizona, who I think is going to be a great matchup,
Yep.
will have ever seen defense like they're going to be guarded.
Right.
So that, to me, is one of the most intriguing questions. Ayton is the best player in the tournament. It's not close.
Right.
Against that defense is going to be fun to watch.
All right, if we get out of here now, we have just enough time probably in the last segment to tell who our Final Fours are and who you think from the SEC might go the farthest. Do you have any SEC teams in the Final Four?
I don't.
I don't either. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225. We'll be right back.
Well, well. Looks like someone forgot all neighborhood Breck Parks close at dark.
You want another?
I think they'll pass. Amplified music and sound is prohibited without permission from Breck. No alcoholic beverages on Breck property. Smoking of tobacco products is not allowed. Use of fire is prohibited except at grills. Gotta remember, Breck wants you to have fun, but in the right way. For more info, go to breck.org/HDB.
Coming down the home stretch of another Sports 225, go to sports225.com for all the air times and to watch the archive shows on our Sports 225 TV channel, including this one, eventually. Oy. Brock Kantrow's here, Henry Hayes is here, I'm here. We're all going to give you our Final Four picks. Brock, go first.
I am Purdue, Michigan. Looking, this is
You got
funny.
them on your phone.
I know, and you got it on this
Well,
piece of paper
I
you're
use
scratching on.
the old-fashioned way.
Purdue, Michigan, Kansas, and UVA.
Wow, we have two of the same.
I know.
I'm not as old as either of you,
So you
so I can
remember?
recall them. Yes.
Of course, you asked me about how my iPad worked in
That's
1970.
true. That was a dig.
I know.
I've got Michigan, Duke, Arizona, and West Virginia.
I like West Virginia.
I like
too.
West Virginia, too.
Bob
But
Huggins is a great coach, and his guard, Javon Carter, is really good, and they play tough, so I like 5 seed. making
that's
it run.
interesting. The two of us, we each have two of the same. I've got Cincinnati, Michigan, Purdue, and Duke. And those,
Duke.
no, none of those are, I think, in this tournament are a bad pick.
Sure.
Duke's a bad pick.
I pick Purdue to win
Why is
every
Duke
year.
a bad pick?
Duke's a bad pick because I watched them play this year. I don't think they're that good, and I think Grayson Allen is a distraction. I think it's going to be
Brock, when in doubt, go with the pros, and that team has 4 pros.
Yeah, always to win the final to get to the Final Four, you have to have at least one lottery pick and another draft pick.
That's
at
why
least.
I have Arizona there.
Matt Painter at Purdue has been my favorite young coach, and now he's no longer a young coach. He's been there so long. I think he does the best job practically of anybody in the country.
Greg Gary's with him at Purdue, who used to be assistant coach with me at Tulane. He's been
no
there
kidding.
for 5 years. Yeah, so
Wow.
they've been my sentimental pick every year, and I picked him to win the whole thing this year. And I called him and left a message, and I said, if you don't help me out this year, then we're not going to be friends anymore.
You almost dropped an F-bomb there, didn't you?
They did not close well, by the way.
They
so
did
we'll
not.
see.
I know, which
Yeah.
is maybe even better because last year they did close well.
Maybe.
All right, and we'll give the final word to Restaurant Boy here. Tell him
Come
about
see me at Flambe Cafe. Yeah, Lee will be there. I mean, no other reason you can come hang out with Lee and shoot the stuff and have a great time. This has always been fun, Lee, and I called to do this again because it literally was one of my favorite times of the year when we did this in the past. So I appreciate you letting us
Brock
come on.
Kantrow, ladies and gentlemen. He put the band back together again, and here we go. Henry, thanks. Brock, thanks.
You got it. Don't stare at the screen.
John Williams from Think JCW, thanks for directing. I'm Lee Feinswag. This has been Sports 225.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky.